going to do is first, because all the commission members except Bobby and me are brand new, and so we're going to do a round of introductions where the new commissioners will have a chance to introduce themselves. So I'll start just to give you some idea of what we're looking for. So I'm John Arango. I'm, I guess, currently the chair until we have election of officers. I live in Algodones. I came to New Mexico in 1963 to work at the Peace Corps Training Center at the University of New Mexico. Lived in the state basically since then, except for 6 years when I lived in California and then overseas. We moved to Algodones in 1977, and I've lived there ever since. As I think I mentioned at the last meeting, the reason we have a Planning and Zoning Commission is because of Centex proposed to build their facility, their plant is now outside Rio in Algodones, and that caused some commotion in our community and ultimately led to the County Commission deciding to create a task force to write a planning and zoning ordinance. I was on that task force that wrote the original ordinance, and then served, once the task force became the Planning and Zoning Commission, I served for a couple of years, and then I was off for about 4 years. But I've been on the Planning and Zoning Commission since 1992. Outside of that, my career has been as a management consultant for nonprofit organizations, mostly legal aid programs. And but I'm more or less retired from that now. And so that's my background. So why don't you go next? We'll go down and then swing around here.
My name is Keith Brown. I was in the military for 25 plus years in the Air Force. Came in enlisted, went to school at night, got my degree, came back as an officer and finished up my career, retired as a lieutenant colonel. I was stationed here at Kirtland in one of my tours. Fell in love with this area, and when I retired, this is where I came. So currently live in Rio Rancho. Love it, beautiful area. I am married, I have 5 children. 2 of them will be in college this fall, so I'm still working. I figure I have 10 more years of college, 2 kids at one time. So I'm a military contractor now, supporting the Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center on Kirtland Air Force Base.
Dan Stoddard moved here in the late 80s. I owned an assisted living company. I was also a city commissioner, county commissioner for Clovis and Curry County, a veteran in the Coast Guard prior to that. I moved here, I was living in Clovis, moved here, and this is my 5th summer in Rio Rancho, and my wife works for Presbyterian, so I'm fully retired as of December of 15. My boys are both grown out of college, so I don't have to work. Thank you.
Dennis?
Good afternoon. This is my first meeting, and I grew up in the Jemez Valley, and I live currently in Ponderosa, New Mexico. I attended the University of New Mexico. I received a degree in education, but basically I spent my entire working life working for U.S. Department of Agriculture. I worked for the Santa Fe National Forest, where I worked as a outdoor recreation planner. I worked as the head staff overseeing the operations of lands, minerals, and recreational programs there in Jemez. I became a district ranger on the Santa Fe National Forest in the Collective Ranger District, Rio Arriba County. I worked internationally in providing fire training and fire guidance and assistance to foreign countries such as Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and in Spain. And then I came and finished my last 12 years with USDA. I retired as the executive director of the Wise Caldera National Preserve and Trust, and I've been retired for about a little over 2 years and trying to enjoy as much fishing as I possibly can. So that's about it. Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Bobby Green. I moved here from Dallas about 12 years ago. I went through the fast food deal as a manager, and then a few years ago I started my own landscape business, and I've been doing that for about 8 years, and so I referee basketball. I've done it all, so I'm just glad to be here to serve, and I lived in Rio Rancho since 2005.
So James Balbuena, who is the other commissioner who is not here tonight, the reason he's not here is that his father-in-law died. His father-in-law was named Edward Alexander McGough, who lived in Rio Rancho. He was a veteran of the Second World War and served in various Air Force bases. He also was a state senator here in New Mexico from 1982 to 1986, when he helped military veterans obtain their medical benefits and local students to apply to military academies. He was a longtime resident of Placitas, where he supported the development of the volunteer fire department, served there as president, and obtained funding to provide equipment and facilities. So I'd like, please, for everybody to take a moment of silence to honor actually General McGough. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is election of officers. And I believe we
Approval of
have...
the agenda? We're going to approve the agenda.
Oh, okay, yeah. So other than the changes that I made in the agenda, you're right. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay,
I second.
moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we do election of officers. And I believe we need a chair and a vice chair. The vice chair serves whenever the chair is not available. Any nominations?
I'll make a motion for John to continue as chairman.
Second.
Any other nominations for chair? Anybody else quiet? Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we need a vice chair. Who would like to be vice chair? I'm going to... Go ahead.
I'd like to be considered for
Dennis, because he's had experience as a planner, and it's probably a good thing that we have somebody from the more remote parts of the county serving as vice chair.
I don't know about remote. I don't know if you've been in Jemez in the weekends here lately. So.
A lot of people out there.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay. Dennis has been nominated. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let me know now, and I can forward that on to McKee. The second one is just a report out of the May 12th work session of the County Commission for Oil and Gas section of the zoning ordinance. I did hand you the staff report that we handed out at that meeting to the County Commission, so it gives you a brief history of where we are now. We did have the first work session in March 28, 2016, and at that time we were given direction to start working on amendments to the zoning ordinance dealing with oil and gas. And what that is land use language to help clarify guidance for this body and for the County Commission when considering an application for oil and gas development within the county. At the May 12th work session, there was a broad discussion about oil and gas development within the county. The County Commission decided to wait for our meeting with OCD prior to giving us further direction. That meeting was scheduled for the 24th, which is tomorrow. However, the secretary had to cancel that meeting due to the special session at the legislature, and they will reschedule with us at a later date. What we're hoping is that we can have that meeting prior to the county commission's second meeting of June. Then we can report back to them, hopefully get some direction, and then I'll be able to make a report either to you at the June P&Z meeting, or I should be able to hand out the third draft. Hoping we can hand out the third draft and we can get moving. It is a land use ordinance. It is not a drilling ordinance. It's not an engineering ordinance. It's a land use ordinance. We've been working with OCD to make sure that we have no conflicts between jurisdiction, that of their office versus that of our office. We feel that we've gotten almost all that cleared away now. We're really down, if everything goes the way a phone discussion went the other day, we're down to just definitions now. So hopefully we'll be able to hit the ground running. We'll be able to get this done. It'll be land use, which is the purview of this body and our department. So that's kind of where we are on oil and gas right now.
Yeah, let me just make sure that I heard things correctly, because I was at the meeting. My understanding is that the Board of County Commissioners' position right now is they want to hear the results of the meeting that you will have with the Oil and Gas Conservation Division before giving us instructions about what they want us to do, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so the earlier mandate from the previous county commission to go ahead and make and draft language for the county commission to amend planning and zoning ordinance is right now in suspension.
Correct.
Okay.
All of you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
And some of them we may invite back to talk to us. So, and the time that they had available for their presentations was very limited. I think it was 10 minutes, and then some questions were asked. And it may be that we want to hear a more in-depth presentation. So first we have to hear from the county commission as to whether they want us to do anything. But if they want us to do something, then one of the things that we'll do at the beginning will be to have presentations from people that have either spoken to us before, had some experience writing these kinds of ordinances, represent a group that has an interest in this. And we'll also hear from the county attorney, because there's one, and I'll explain a little bit more when we get to the public comment, but there seems to be a widespread misunderstanding of what the current status is. Right now, the county regulates oil and gas development in the current planning and zoning ordinance as a special use. So the question that's before us is, are we going to regulate oil and gas development as a special use, or are we going to have specific language related to oil and gas in the ordinance? It's not, are we going to have an oil and gas mentioned in the ordinance or not? It's already in the ordinance. And so, because that misunderstanding is very widespread, I just wanted to make sure that you all knew that. And so we'll start any discussion that we have about, assuming the county commission tells us to do something, we will start with having the county attorney brief us on what exactly a special use is and what that enables us to do in terms of oil and gas regulation. And just so that we're all clear on what exists right now, and can use that as a background for understanding what the proposed changes are. So, welcome, Keith. We started by having each of the commissioners say a little bit about their background, and so if you would do the same thing too, just so that we can...
Just catch my breath.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Aparcio Guerrero. I'm from Cuba, New Mexico. I've had a business there for, as an owner for 8 years, as a manager for 25. I graduated from the University of New Mexico with a Bachelor of Business Administration. Lifelong resident of New Mexico, lifelong resident of Sandoval County. The reason I apologize that I'm late. I was coming from northwestern New Mexico. bear hunting over there, and I had to gather my dogs before I got here. So that's me, and I apologize for being late. Thank you.
One other thing is, when the county commission approved the ordinance appointing all of us, they also approved paying per diem for people that live outside the immediate area here, so you'll be able to file for per diem.
Government money.